Welcome back. This won't be recorded in Warsaw because this video is going to be focused on maps. This is the Warsaw SKM map. You can also call it the S-Bahn map. These lines are mostly overground. The exceptions are this part between Warszawa Śródmieście and Warszawa Powiśle and the line from Warszawa Służewiec to Warszawa Lotnisko Chopina. All of the SKM lines run on national tracks, but there are plans in the future to make the SKM run on their own track, which in my opinion is the best way to go, so the SKM lines can be more frequent. Speaking of frequency, the SKM lines aren't very frequent. The S1 and S2 run every 30 minutes, the S3 runs every hour to Legionowo Piaski, and some trains are extended to Radzymin. And the S4 and S14 lines also run every hour. Wait, I just realized, the S4 is the only line to go through the first Warsaw orbital. That line goes through the heart of Wola, and it has trains every hour? This wasn't always the case though. Before June, the S3 line went through the first Warsaw orbital, but now it goes through the central line, where there are already two SKM lines. And you know what's even worse? The S3 line doesn't go through the local central line tracks, but through the express central line tracks. So this line only stops at Warsaw East, Warsaw Central, and Warsaw West, with zero connections to any metro lines, except the 9-minute walk at Warszawa Targówek and the 10-minute walk at Warsaw Central. We talked about Warszawa Targówek in the least used stations in Warsaw. Don't watch it now, watch it later. That video is already outdated by the way, because the S3 line stops at Warszawa Targówek, so there are many more passengers. Okay, let's start looking at the map itself. This map is useless for doing anything because it's scarily inaccurate and upside down. The distance between Dąbkowizna and Radzymin is 6.17 kilometers, as the distance between Sulejówek and Sulejówek Miłosna is 1.68 kilometers. So, let's put the SKM lines on a real map. Yeah, much more accurate. The lines overlap in many places, so it might be hard to read. Starting with the S1 line, the first SKM line in Warsaw. It opened in 2005 along with the S10 line. The S1 line originally went from Warszawa Zachodnia, Warsaw West, to Warszawa Falenica, a station not far away from Otwock. You can see how Warszawa Falenica looks like in the dark in this video.
Let's go! We made it on the final station, Warszawa Falenica. I'm on platform 1 because my train home is arriving any minute now. Let's go, and it's an hour faster than last time.
Due to the lack of passengers, in 2007, this line was discontinued and was replaced with the S2 line, but we will talk about that line later. This line was reopened in 2010 from Pruszków to Otwock. The line stayed this way up until now, because I will be fixing this line once and for all. You can see, terminating at Pruszków is way too close to Warsaw, especially that we have many dense towns here like Paźniew, Brwinów, not Milanówek, and the massive town Grodzisk Mazowiecki. To fix this, all you need to do is extend the line west to Grodzisk Mazowiecki. This is also where the WKD train line terminates. I can't really extend the line further west because there is no point. On the east side of this line, there's nowhere to extend this line. Okay, now the S2 line. This line opened in 2006 between Pruszków and Warszawa-Rembertów. In 2006, the line was extended east to Sulejówek Miłosna. When the S1 line was reopened to Pruszków, this line was shortened to Warsaw West, and for a time, Warszawa Gdańska. More information about the S2 line is in that video. In 2012, the line was extended west from Warsaw West to the Chopin Airport. During the same time, the S3 line opened also from the Chopin Airport. So even in 2012, the S2 and S3 lines were very similar. This line stood the test of time until now, because I'm fixing all the SKM lines. Let's start with the east side of this line, because this part is much easier to fix. The only thing that needs to be fixed is that the line is too short, so I would extend it to Halinów. I picked Halinów because if there are Warsaw buses here, why can't there be Warsaw trains here as well? Yeah, I could have extended the line further to Minsk Mazowiecki, but what do I look like, a charity? There are no side tracks at Halinów, so they would have to be built somewhere here. Or, if the plan to make SKM trains run on their own track succeeds, which it won't, no side tracks at all. Now the west side. This fix is a bit more than just extending the line. Since between Warsaw East and Warsaw Chopin Airport the S2 line is the same as the S3 line, instead of the S2 line terminating at Warsaw Chopin Airport, it will terminate in a different place. The place is, drumroll please, Błonie. SKM did want a line to Błonie, so here you go. This line goes through Ursus, so the trains need to be much more guarded. Also, the line goes through Warszawa Ursus Północny, the most beautiful station on the SKM system. Wait till he hears about this one. The S3 line. This line opened in 2012 and it ran between Warszawa Lotnisko Chopina, Chopin Airport, and Legionowo or Legionowo Piaski, going through the central line. Until 2019, when the line started going through the first Warsaw Orbital, and should have stayed that way. In 2020, it had the unfortunate extension to Radzymin. On the 9th of June 2024, the S3 line went back to its old route, going through the Express Central line instead of the first Warsaw Orbital. I'm not going to bring this line back to the first Warsaw Orbital because I have a special surprise for that line later. What I am going to do though is make the line go through the local Central line instead of the Express Central line. Now the S4 line. It opened on the 12th of March 2023. It was made to connect Piaseczno with Warsaw. And I'ma be honest, that's still not enough for Piaseczno. That city has 2 bus lines and 2 train lines. Nope, still not enough. In my humble opinion, there should be a tram between Warsaw and Piaseczno. Speaking of which, do that in Legionowo. Their buses are also crowded. Wait, have you seen Radzymin? Where trams should be built is an endless list, and every day there's a new line that's added to the list. Anyways, the line went from Piaseczno to Wieliszew until June 2023, when this small railway line opened to Zegrze Południowe. The railway line will be extended further to Serock, Półtusk. Whether the S4 line will be extended to those towns is another question. To fix the S4 line, just add this railway line. This railway line isn't used by passenger trains yet, so I'd love to see this line being used. It's currently unelectrified, but adding some wires isn't impossible. There aren't any stations on this railway line, so I'll have to make some. I'll do that in the next section of this video, where I will add new stations to these lines. The S40 line. Get rid of the line because it's just a shorter version of the S4 line. Wrapping up this part of the video, this is how the lines will look like on an accurate map, and this is how it would look like on a more readable map. I could have made the map myself, but I didn't have enough time, so I made it using Metro Map Maker. You can see how scarily inaccurate this readable map is compared to the accurate map. Now the second part of this video, adding new stations, starting with the S1 line, obviously. On the east side of the river, No changes. There are already enough stations here. What about the central line? Well, there is one issue. Warszawa-Powiśle is at an awkward location, a bit too far away from a tram stop and a bit too far away from the important Solec street. So, let's split this station into two. One station will be next to the tram stop, Muzeum Narodowe. The station will be called Warszawa Muzeum Narodowe. And another station next to the Solec street called Warszawa Solec. Look at the distance between Warszawa Włochy and Warszawa Zachodnia. There should really be a station somewhere here. But I don't think there's space for a platform anywhere. But you know where there is space? Between Warszawa Włochy and Warszawa Ursus. Look at all these apartments. There's also the Ursus district office over here. And I think the station should be named after it. So, Warszawa Ursus Ratusz. But before you build a station here, you need to move this track to make space for an island platform. Right over here, between Warsaw and Piastów, there should be a station here. Not far away, there's the weirdly called Agreement Square. So let's name the station after it. So, Piastów Plac Zgody. The distance between Piastów and Pruszków is 3 kilometers. There are many houses here. The distance should be way less than 3 kilometers. So let's build a station here, in the middle. There's the Grunwaldzka Street viaduct next to this place. The station is next to the Pruszków-Piastów border, so can it be called Pruszków-Piastów? No. Eureka! Next to this station, there's this abandoned building. It was used for manufacturing paper. So, let's name the station that. Pruszków Papiernia it is. Yeah, the name kinda sounds boring, but I honestly couldn't care less what this station is called because they're never gonna build a station here anyway and there's nothing here to name the station after, so I don't really care. Is anyone even listening to this? I don't know why the station Paźniew is in the middle of a field. Because Paźniew is not just a field. Paźniew does have some apartments next to the railway line. So let's make a station there and give it a catchy name like Paźniew Centrum. Yeah, that's a good name. Brwinów also has some nice apartments next to the railway line, but no station. Brwinów already has a station in the center, but no station here, where there are much more houses. But what could we call this station? I could call it Brwinów Osiedle, so Brwinów neighborhood. There's a village not far away from here called Grudów. So connect that together and it's Brwinów Grudów. Grodzisk Mazowiecki. Only one station for a city? We can't allow this. Luckily, I'm the right man for the job. I say there should be a station here, next to some neighborhoods. But what name should I use for the station? Ah, screw it. Just call the station neighborhood. So, Grodzisk Mazowieckie Osiedle. We done with the S1 line? Yeah. Now the S2 line. Let's start on the east side. What's surprising to me is no station next to this village. Grabina. Stick a station right there. Sulejówek and Wesoła have enough stations, so let's go to Rembertów. Only one station? I can already see where to put the next station and it's here, next to a neighborhood and the Rembertów Kolonia bus loop. Name the station after the neighborhood, Old Rembertów, so Warszawa Stary Rembertów. Let's build another station next to this street that desperately needs a viaduct or a tunnel. Holy 6 tracks. This station could be called Warszawa Rondo Granzowa, named after the roundabout, or Warszawa Kawęczyn Wygoda, named after this area of Rembertów. Remember in the last video where I talked about these places? This isn't the only place where the tracks are separated just enough that building an island platform is possible. Look over here at Warszawa Kozia Górka and Warszawa Dudziarska. This one will be called Warszawa Utrata, named after this area of Targówek, and this station, Warszawa Kozia Górka. Okay, now the west side of this line. I'm confused on how this place doesn't have a station yet. Bronisze. You can clearly see where the old street collided with the railway line and where the new viaduct is located. You can see the exact same thing in Kobyłka Osów and Kobyłka, but Kobyłka has a tunnel instead of a viaduct. Between Ożarów Mazowiecki and Płochocin, there's this massive gap that's around 6.5 kilometers long. Let's put a station here in the village Ołtarzew, now Płochocin. I wouldn't build a station anywhere, but I would move platform 1 and 2 closer to this level crossing, where more people live. Now Błonie. Someone already did the job by building a station here, but they didn't build a station here. So I'll do that and call it Błonie Łąki. And that's about it for the S2 line. Now the S3 line. Between Służewiec and Żwirki i Wigury, there are a lot of apartments. So put a station there and name it after the street Woronicza, you get Warszawa Woronicza. What's bugging me is that there's no station here, where there are also many apartments. The name for this station would be Warszawa Instalatorów, named after the street. I named after the street because the street name is cool. Now the north part. Between Targówek and Praga, there's this roundabout, called the Frog Roundabout. There are many trams over here, and I don't know why there isn't a station here yet. Maybe because there isn't any space between the tracks, but you could easily connect them earlier, or just space them out so there's enough space for an island platform. Either way, the station layout is gonna be good. Name the station after the roundabout, so Warszawa Rondożaba. No need for stations in the holy houses in Warsaw district, also known as Białołęka. Now Legionowo. There's this neighborhood, and it has a cool name, so I obviously had to put a station here. Legionowo Bukowiec. How does this station not sound cool? The rest of the line is alright. Since the S3 and S4 lines are very similar, the line is mostly done already, except the line south of the airport. Warszawa Okęcie is fine, just make a footpath to these neighborhoods. The distance between Okęcie and Dawidy is so long, I bet I could fit like 2 stations in this gap. Here and here. The top one would be called Warszawa Wyczółki and the bottom one would be called Warszawa Krasnowola, both named after the closest neighborhood. What's weird about Warszawa Dawidy is it's named after a village, not a neighborhood in Warsaw, just like in Kobyłka Osów. Between Dawidy and Jeziorki is an empty field, so no station needed. But when the line gets out of Warsaw is where it gets interesting. This village, Nowa Zgorzała, has many massive neighborhoods. I counted at least 4. In the other side is the village Mysiadło, with also a lot of neighborhoods, so there needs to be a station here. You can call it Mysiadło Zgorzała or Zgorzała Mysiadło, whichever sounds better. They put a station in New Iwiczna, but not in Old Iwiczna? Weird. I'ma put a station there. There needs to be a station here, next to the Orężna level crossing. There are 2 outer side tracks over here, but you can just remove them. Oh, the name of this station. Yeah, I'ma call it Piaseczno Targowisko. Now, this line that we skipped, the line is currently unelectrified, so you need to electrify it. Also, the line connects at Warszawa Okęcie, but it branches off at Nowa Iwiczna, so build a connector track somewhere here. Also, the line is single track, so unless you want trains to run every hour, you need to build another track. So, for the stations, I put one here next to the Puławska road. This is where many buses stop, and maybe trams in the future, but that's for another video. I'ma call this station Piaseczno-Lamina, named after the diode production facility. The next station would be located here, next to this village called Julianów. This village is very dense. Look at all these apartments. Why is this not in Warsaw, or at least in Zone 1, is crazy. I'ma call this station not Julianów, but Józefosław, another village located not too far away from the station. The reason why I'm not calling this station Julianów is because I'm making another station closer to the center of Julianów here, and this station will be called Julianów. All these villages should be in Warsaw. Look how dense they are. But that's for another video. At Konstancin Jeziorna, there should be a station somewhere next to this level crossing. I decided to put the station east of the level crossing because at the west side there is a depot station and there's no space for a platform here unless you want to remove the side tracks. I'ma call this station Jeziorna because Konstancin Jeziorna would not work. This is where the line could terminate, but I want to have a little bit of fun, so after this station there's this old path where there used to be tracks. I rebuilt the old tracks to this neighborhood Mirków, and you have a nice space for a terminus station. This is how the lines would look like with the new stations. By the way, all these lines will be in the description below. And this is how the readable map looks like. Now, for the final part of this video, new lines. Let's go back to the accurate map. You can still see some lines that SKM trains don't run on. Let's start with the most obvious one. This one. This line is very busy, especially during the peak. Usually, the KM trains that run on this line have a frequency of every 30 minutes, but during the peak, it's every 10 minutes, and the trains are still packed. So, if you want the KM trains to have the same frequency, you need to build tracks for the SKM trains. I don't know where you're gonna find space to put those tracks in Warszawa Wileńska. Maybe put the SKM tracks underground? That would be a good idea. Anyways, this line, the S5, will run between Warszawa Wileńska and Wołomin Słoneczna. I think this is the best route. In the future, when they build this line between Warszawa Wileńska and Warszawa Główna, you can extend the line to Piaseczno. But we are not living in the future. But before we go to the next line, there needs to be more stations. Firstly, a station next to Warszawa Targówek. This would be a good transfer location. Secondly, next to the Rozwadowskiego viaduct. The station will be called Warszawa Targówek Fabryczne. And the third station would be located here, at the Łodygowa level crossing. Since this level crossing marks the border between Warszawa and Ząbki, this station could be called Warszawa Łodygowa or Ząbki Łodygowa. Further north, the line has enough stations. Moving on to the S6 line. Now, the next line that doesn't have any SKM trains is the second Warsaw Orbital. I talked about this line in my previous video, and where the planned stations might be located. The west terminus of this line could be either Pruszków or Ożarów Mazowiecki. I'ma pick Ożarów Mazowiecki, because I have a special surprise for Pruszków later. Now, where would be the east terminus of this line? The line can't go north because there's already enough lines there. It could go south or east. Never mind, it can't go east because at Ożarów Mazowiecki there's the S2 line that also goes east. So our only option left is south, terminating at Otwock. For the east part of this line, a station could be here, next to the Wygoda neighborhood in Rembertów, so the station would be called Warszawa Wygoda. If you watched the last video, you would know this line doesn't have any stations, so I need to make some. The first one would be here. It would be called Warszawa Lasek na Kole. The second one would be here, under the Dywizjonu 303 road. The station would be called Warszawa Dywizjonu 303, so original. The third one would be here, next to the Ulrychów metro station. It will be called Warszawa Ulrychów. This is where the Jelonki depot station starts, so you would need to start the side tracks later. The fourth station will be here, also next to the Jelonki depot station. To make space for the platforms, you would have to end the side tracks earlier. The station will be called Warszawa Jelonki. The fifth station will be here. Call the station whatever you want. I'ma call it after the shopping center, so Warszawa Fortywola. The sixth and final station on the second Warsaw Orbital line would be here at the
Aleja 4 czerwca 1989 roku Viaduct.
Such a long name. The station would be called Warszawa Karolin, named after the neighborhood Karolin. Now the next and final line, the S7. This line will be a bit weird. The starting location is Wołomin Słoneczna. It will have to go to the 449 railway line, because if it went straight, then it would be the same as the S5 line. The 449 railway line just exists to connect central Warsaw with Białystok. More information about this railway line in this video. The line will go to Warsaw East because there are already enough lines there. I wanted to go through the first Warsaw Orbital because for now there's only one SKM line there, the S4. So this part of the line will be similar to the S6 line. This is why I love this line. Instead of going to South Warsaw, it goes to West Warsaw. I can't count how many times I had to transfer from the S4 to the S1 at Warsaw West. The transfer is super complicated because the platform for trains going through the first Warsaw Orbital is very far away from the other platforms. The line copies the S1 line after Warsaw West and keeps going west. The line ends prematurely at the old terminus of the S1 line, Pruszków, instead of Grodzisk Mazowiecki. I think that's okay, because Grodzisk Mazowiecki does not deserve two SKM lines. Yet. There's only one station that's not already added on this line, and it's here, in Rembertów. I will call the station Warszawa Rembertów Strzelnica, which is named after the bus loop. I swear, I think I have a kink for naming stations after bus loops. If the name is too long for you, you can call it Warszawa Montera or Warszawa Polanka. Well, that does it with the video. This is how the real world map looks like, and this is how the readable map looks like. By the way, all these lines are made on pre-existing railway lines, except some connecting parts. I might make a future video that includes the future railway lines. But for now, goodbye.